Okay, as most of you know, we've got a special guest this afternoon, but I've got a couple of things to say before we get started. Just some milestones. I've got a first Division 1 game for in the goals, Jason Collard. Grant Moore, who's umpired for many, many years, he's doing his 50th Adelaide Footy League game. He's done many others in other leagues, but he's getting a 50th up with us. And a big one for Tristan Rogers on the boundary. He's doing his 500th this weekend. So well done to you guys. We've also got our first lot of grand finals. With the coaching notes, I'll send out the full list of field, boundary and goal. But for the fieldies, Division 2 women's grand final, Matt Brown, Mel Booth. Division 2 reserves, Michael Jolly, Makita Bond. Division 4 women's, Jack Moore, Chris Peters. That should be a ripper, that game. And Division 6, Shane Moss and Sarah Renee. So well done to you guys. There will be obviously the rest of the women's grand finals next week. An entry into the prelim and the grand finals will be by wristband. So we'll be handing them out at training. If you can't make training, we'll work out a way to get them to you. But yeah, exciting time of year. So well done for those of you that have been appointed to those games. With the coaching notes, I'll also send out a link to support Greg Von Einem, who's doing a fundraiser to support the Fred Hollows Foundation. Be good if a few of you could support Greg in that. So that's all I've got for announcements. I don't want to waste any time because we do have a very special guest on the line. Last year, we were fortunate to be able to have a chat to the South Australian AFL field umpires on the panel, as well as Brett Roseberry. We were really lucky to speak to all those guys. And I know that you all enjoyed it that much. I went out and asked whether we could speak to a couple more, and we've been really lucky to have Jacob Mollison come on tonight. Jacob is number 32 field umpire, for those of you that know the numbers. He umpired his first AFL grand final last year in the Western Bulldogs Melbourne game in Perth, which we'll have a chat to him about. A week ago, he did his 300th AFL game, which is a huge milestone for him. We've got plenty more to have a chat to him about. I can see he's online. Jacob, thanks very much for coming on and having a chat to us.
Hey, Colin. Hey, team. How are we all?
Yeah, I've muted them all. Well, I'm sure they're all good. But, mate, absolutely fantastic you could join us this afternoon. I've given them a bit of a rundown of your background, but I know there's more to say. So maybe just tell the guys and girls, your umpire background and your journey so far.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. And first of all, congrats to all those going out doing milestones this week and finals and grand finals. It's a great time of the year, so you should be super excited to get out there and attack those games. So really well done and congrats to all. A bit about me, Colin. Basically grew up in Albury-Wodonga. So I was there for my first 21 years of my life and came through the Ovens and Murray Football League. So as in the Albury Umpires League back there. I never sort of envisaged that, I'd be an AFL umpire or follow this path. I was sort of really into my sports, basketball and AFL in my junior years and all that sort of stuff. So I solely did it for a bit of fitness and pocket money. And, you show a little bit of promise in those sort of country regional areas and they throw a bit at you. So I got quickly enticed to go from boundary into field, and then, had the opportunity to trial for VFL around 17 when I just finished school, and decided not to. I stuck around for a few more years. I just wasn't, ready, I suppose, or mature enough to make the trip to Melbourne because I knew it would be a fully, you'd have to commit. It's about 3.5 hours from Melbourne, and I just wasn't mentally ready to go. So I worked and got a bit of money behind me and was able to transfer with work in a few years after doing a few Ovens and Murray grand finals, and also got to go travelling to Perth or Bunbury for the Australian Country Championships in my last year there before I came down to trial at the VFL. Got a quick initiation to Kev Mitchell at VFL level. It was a pretty strong I suppose feedback given to me at quarter time of my first game with Kev, but to this day, he's one of the best coaches I had. Really hit me between the eyes of what I needed to do at that level, and was able to progress quite quickly, I suppose, through the VFL, I suppose, at the time. So and the TAC Cup. Spent 3 years before I was able to get onto the AFL list, and was very lucky. There was 5 spots up for grabs, and I think they took a lucky dip and gave me the spot to sort of showed a little bit of promise, but was quite raw at the time. And I was very fortunate to get picked up and start my journey back in 2008 when Darren Goldspink retired, and he belatedly gave me his number at the jumper presentation, which was a bit of fun. But I look back now and 301 games now under the belt, and it's just absolutely flown. It's been a blur, but been an amazing experience with plenty of ups and downs, and a couple of times where you sort of had to either fight or you'd be out the door. So you had to really sort of put in the hard work and commit to what it really deserves to be able to sort of hang on to my spot. So really grateful to be still going at this stage, and hopefully got a few more years left in me yet.
I was going to say, you look young enough to have plenty of years left. How old are you now?
I'm a young 38-year-old, I'll be honest, but I feel like I'm only in the low 30s. I still sort of fit in very well with those younger guys. I'm not quite at the Brett and Stevic stage, I don't think so, and Meredith. So I get along really well with all those guys, and might be that bridge between the younger group and the older guys. But look, I've got a few more grey hairs now. I've got 3 young kids, so that's probably done it to me. But look, I feel really good. Touch wood, the body's held up really well.
You've definitely got a baby face now. Those that follow AFL umpiring, you mentioned him, would have realised you were the heir apparent to Darren Goldspink. He's a huge character in umpiring, and I guess they do tend to hand out those numbers to people that they see a bit of promise. And I remember seeing you in the 32 thinking, gee, you actually move a little bit like Darren. And I don't know whether anyone else has ever said that to you, but what role did Darren play? Did he stay in touch, or did he say much to you early on?
No, I wouldn't say he was too forthcoming in reaching out, to be honest. He was probably still dealing with his own emotions of obviously finishing up in AFL and what have you. Had such an illustrious career, and it was a pretty daunting number to get, to be honest, because I hold him in that high regard. He's an amazing, one of the greatest umpires we've ever had. So look, there's been the odd text in that here and there with Darren, but I haven't had too much, I'll be honest, to do with him. I've had a few other mentors along the way, like Brian Sheen, when I first got into the VFL, was a really good mentor of mine. Mark McKenzie, who you'd remember, Colin, he was another one that I sort of developed a close bond with, and probably drew on him quite a lot. Similar sort of industries work-wise and what have you, we were able to sort of cross over there. So, it was just probably finding those people and mentors that I felt, I gelled really well with and came easily as well. But Darren's always sort of sent us a message of support every now and then, so which is nice.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
He is.
Very sarcastic, hilarious, actually. So what's been your best bit of advice along the way? Have you got some things that have stuck in your head?
Look, I think the best bit of advice I probably got was probably after year 2. I battled first 2 years without question, right? And I was make or break in my 3rd year, and I suffered an injury when I'm returning back to training in the preseason. So I'll be honest, I wasn't I was okay at VFL level. Like, I got through games and everything, but I wasn't an elite trainer then. Got to AFL, and I just got found out really quickly with fitness tests and everything. I just really battled, and it was probably year 3. I really was like, this is make or break for me. And I really just took everything I could off the others who trained like animals, right? And I got this nickname because I was rehabbing a lot and doing this gym stuff, and it turned out onto the track and then into my games as well with the work ethic that I started to show. And Geish, we call it a Geishism, nicknamed me with the animal. He said, "Oh, he's seen Mollison, he's been an animal and back on track." So that sort of gave me confidence to really attack it. And it was from guys like Mark Foster was a boundary umpire, but I grew up with him in Albury-Wodonga, and he took me under his wing. You had your Sean Ryans and Matt Stevic, who was a freak. Hayden Kennedy, no one could really catch him except for Stevic. So there was guys in front of me that I just really started to aspire to really go, if you want something of this to make a career, you're going to have to put in the hard work and push yourself to a level that you haven't done before.
Any embarrassing moments you want to share that spring to mind?
I still remember this one embarrassing moment I had where I paid a free kick against Tabernar back, I don't know, 2011 or something like that. He threw a guy's shoe away. And I look back now, I'm like, I just cringe if I ever see that one, because it was just like not a free kick. I'd seen an example where it was blatant, where a guy had got knocked off for it before. So I just basically put everyone that throws a shoe away, a guy's shoe came off and throw it away, it's a free kick. It just wasn't. And that's where finding the balance as well around what Simon Meredith gave me this great advice. It wasn't necessarily the free kicks that you were paying. It was the free kicks you weren't paying. You're allowed the games to flow. That got you to where, we did last year, and obviously have been knocking on the doors for finals for some time. But in those first sort of 6 years, I was really just jumping it too much, and it was really trying to let the game unfold that stood me in good stead. But that one was a cringeworthy moment.
So you paid a free kick against him for it.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something similar? Lee Housen paid something against Charlie Cameron this year. I'm just trying to remember what it was.
Was it this year?
Was it this year? Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I can't remember.
That's all right. I'll find out what that was.
One for me.
Yeah, we'll
send that one through.
So, I know that when you umpire in AFL, people want to ask questions. There's a huge interest. How do you deal with the constant questioning just from general public, family and friends of, what it's like out there, etc.? Does it annoy you, or do you just roll with it?
I do like it, because it has opened opportunities at work and what have you. Like, it's a great conversation starter. So I'm in banking with the Commonwealth Bank, and I look after a team of lenders, but I've done some other roles in that. I often avoid the office. I work from home every Monday. I never go into an office, any Melbourne office on a Monday, because I would literally get no work done, because everyone would be coming up with the questioning so I've learnt that over the years. I'll head in tomorrow to the office. It's usually a bit quieter as well, but yeah, look, it is a great way to start a conversation though. Often, in those circles, you can sort of build up relationships and, interests and what have you because of football. So there are benefits to it. Yeah, you can get asked quite a few questions, but I embrace it. I like it. And it's certainly, as I said, opened doors for me in both areas around, friendships and also through work as well.
So what do you do for it?
Yeah, so I'm a mobile banking manager at CommBank. So I look after 16 mobile lenders. So basically, layman's terms, brokers or people that lend money for people to buy houses. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And there aren't any full-time umpires, are there? Everyone's got a job of some sort alongside?
Yeah. And some might be part-time. Although Nick Foote he's got his own racing podcast and going down that space. So he was a teacher. He's sort of taken a bit of time off that to pursue this interest and footy, and it's working quite well for him. But I love having both, because I find that if you're too heavily involved with football and you're going through a rough patch, it just becomes, I think, too much. You need something to get away from it, and vice versa with work. I think this takes away some of the stresses that you have in work. You get to go out and, run around and umpire the best game in the world for a couple of hours on a weekend and do the training around that. I think it fits in quite well. It is important, though, I would say, to have a role that is flexible with your football if you really want to make it work.
So tell us about last year, a breakout year, getting your first AFL Grand Final. An amazing experience, I would imagine. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, look, it was. When Jeno rang me and said, can you come down and meet? So we were, just to give you an idea, we were separate. Myself and Simon Meredith had finished our quarantine period over in Perth. So they were still in quarantine. So they had this, we called it the chicken pen. They had a fenced off area near their hotel where you could sort of walk around this grassed area in Perth. And so he messaged me and said, meet me at the paddock or what have you at the chicken pen at 10:30. So this is a message at about 10 in the morning. And I hadn't heard anything else. Everyone else is still getting their calls and what have you. And I was just so nervous. I'm like, well, this is it. You've either got there or you haven't. And when I heard the news, I literally got a bit emotional. It was a long journey to get to that point, and it meant a hell of a lot. And to be able to sort of then call my wife and kids and then mum and dad and my brothers. And yeah, it was pretty special. So I think the thing for me was, I had a really good year last year, and then I went reasonably well in the first final, and I thought, this is good. Hopefully get another week. And then when Jeno rang to say, you're straight through to a prelim, Brett and myself, it was pretty special. Like I wasn't sort of thinking, all right, you straight, go well and you're into a granny. It was nothing like that, but it was comforting to know, because the year before I went out after week 2. I missed the prelim. So I missed my shot to get there at that time. So this year to get to a prelim, it felt a bit more relaxed going into that final. And I just made sure I wasn't worked up or anxious about it. It was just, this is your grand final, go out and give it. It's the best game you've had in your life, so go for it. And I did that, and then was lucky enough to be able to represent the team on that last day in September, which was just incredible. So it was a great game. I think everyone remembers it as a good game, but Melbourne got away in the end. But if you watch the game back, like a minute to go in the third quarter, there was a goal between them. The ball was situated on the middle wing, and it was like a minute later, it was out to 24 points. It was just this onslaught in that last minute, and I was lucky enough to have 2 of the next bouncers to just see what unfolded with those goals. And it was just, no one saw that coming. It was just a crazy experience.
Yeah, no, it was. It looked amazing on telly, so to be there would have been sensational. I've got a few other questions, but I know that others on the line would love to ask you. So I'll open it up. If anyone's got a question, feel free to unmute yourself and come and ask Jacob. I can see Josh unmuting himself. Josh, you want to fire away?
Hello, buddy. Just a quick question. In the center, it's more of a footy question. In the center, when you're in control, when you bounce the ball, over the years, who do you think is the best tap ruckman you've ever seen go up against each other and with the wrist work?
Yeah, look, there's probably 2 that immediately spring to mind is Nat Nui and Max. I just think Nat Nui's ability to jump above and then be able to tap it to where his his teammate's going to be able to run onto it's quite extraordinary. When he's up and going at full tilt, it's very good. And Max is really good at it at the moment as well. So they're probably 2 current day ruckmen that I would say, probably do that tap work really well.
Cheers, bud.
No worries,
right.
Josh.
Someone else?
Yeah, Jacob, this is Andre here. Just a question you mentioned earlier about the advantage of having another job to balance things out, and especially if you have a rough week. Now, what is a rough week for an umpire? What did you actually mean by that?
So if the feedback doesn't come back as you would like it, I suppose, is probably one of the rough weeks. Or it might be you get, it's not great and you're on the verge of maybe being rotated out, or, you're just battling to string some games together, or you're in and out. That can be quite challenging. The other ones when you're, injured or, had a setback from an injury or what have you, can be quite lonely place in rehab. So they're probably some of the rough weeks I'm talking about.
So what reasoning would they give? So what feedback do they give you on a bad week or a bad game? So decision making or positioning or
generally
controlling the game?
Generally, it'd be decision making from my perspective, Andre. And certainly, I try to make sure from a positional perspective and those things, I don't leave that to chance. But decision making, there could be something that just, I wasn't seeing it that well in this particular area or whatnot. You really want to try and, minimize those worst games and your best games, keep them in a really high standard within a really reasonable range, so that you're constantly putting in solid performances. So when that doesn't happen, that can be quite challenging, and try and get yourself back on track pretty quickly.
It's probably worth touching on the type of feedback you do get. It's free kick by free kick, video analysis.
Yeah. So it's probably changed somewhat, Colin, where we used to get a running sheet and it'd be correct, missed, unwarranted. So you wanted to see as many C's down the page rather than those M's and U's. But nowadays it's probably, we still get noted in our feedback around decision making. It's a component, and that will have, such things as review this or this was wrong, whatever it might not. But it also have the stuff that you did well in the game. We then have an area around team, which goes into support, and whether it's communication, positioning, whether it's support free kicks, for example. And the last component's around the management piece as well. So were there instances in the game you managed really effectively, or were there areas that challenged us and we didn't pull the right rein? So we'll certainly cover off on all those areas. And then you've also got some of your own areas that you're focusing on. So that's pretty much it. But it's certainly pretty direct. And then you've got the the visual coaching that will come up on another platform, which we can review and comment on as well.
Cool. I see Rob Midland's unmuted himself. Rob, you want to come on and ask a question?
Yeah, thanks. Jacob, you talked about making sure that you get yourself in the right position to be able to make the decision. With the modern game, we see a lot of congestion with 36 players in one half of the field. So I would assume from time to time you obviously block for review. Is that taken into account in terms of your feedback about whether you missed a decision or not? Or do you rely on one of the out of control umpires to support you in that?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Rob. Like, I think Chambo says this really well, and he'll often say that back in 90s you might have been able to get away with umpiring a game and not relying on your teammates, but now we can't do the job without the support from our teammates. So that expectation and predictability we need from each other to make sure if I'm in this spot and there's quite a large amount of players around here, what are my other two mates doing? Are they getting themselves into position to make sure that if they do see something, they get it? Because I always have this theory. I say to each and every week to the guys when we go out, hey, the team goes well, individual stuff will take care of itself. Let's make sure we nail it as a team and come off the ground holding our head high. So I think that's really important for us to be able to get a good result, is to make sure that all three are working cohesively to support each other. Because you don't want to guess. So yeah.
All right. Did I see Mike Raymond unmute himself then? Mike.
Yeah, he did, mate. Jacob, well done, mate. Great interview. Mate, I saw I think Fox Footy interviewed you for your 300th game. You came across so well and you just showed how passionate you were about umpiring. Is there more of a chance that more of you could do that at the start of games, just to show that side, just to even promote umpiring in a way, I guess?
Yeah, look, I think obviously the milestone helped that was occurring, Michael. So I hope it did come across all right. But yeah, look, it was, I didn't mind. I think it was with Channel 7 with the Abby just before the toss of the coin. So it was pretty short and sweet. But again, if we can if there's anything we can do to sort of help promote it, I think we should take it. I wouldn't say that's for everyone though. You'd have to be comfortable to do that. And I certainly probably wouldn't have been in my sort of first 100 games into my career. Maybe even more. But now, if they ask me to do that again or do that semi-regular, there'd be no hesitation. If it can help in any way, absolutely, we should take those opportunities.
Yeah, I reckon you used to be on the AFL website, weren't you, Jacob? They used to have this segment with reviewing decisions.
Yeah, they did.
You were the one that went up. Yeah.
I went once. I think we sort of rotated it with the guys, and then Hayden Kennedy would jump on every now. I think it was whistleblowers. So they sort of don't have that segment anymore. But yeah, again, I'm for it. I think the more that we can sort of let people know we're just normal people. We just love the game too, just as much as the fans. But, we don't go out there trying to make mistakes. We go out there trying to do the best job we possibly can.
No, mate, that was you came across really well. And there was another interview that you did. I think it was the AFL umpire website showed the team talk that you guys had before your game.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's cool, wasn't it? Thank you.
Now, I've got Josh Forner wanting to ask a question. He did say something on the chat saying, who the hell is Mike Raymond? Well, Mike was coaching the Golden Grove women's team that lost on the weekend, so that's why he's back with us. He's
mate, I'm back.
He's back up for him. All right, Josh, your turn, mate.
Yeah, just having a subtle dig at Ramo as usual. So that's all good. It's good to see him back. Yeah, Jacob. I'll make a comment on the back of what Michael just said. I've often wondered why we don't see any ex-umpires sort of floating around in the media and ending up in the commentary box, because some of the crap that gets spilled by Wayne Carey and Brian Taylor is just ridiculous. But other than that, I just wanted to ask. Most of us that have been around umpiring for a while understand it's a pretty unique environment, particularly come finals time. You've got to balance your expectations on your own performance with going up against your teammates and trying to be happy for them, particularly when things don't quite go the way you want. How do you sort of balance things at that time of year when possibly you hope to be in with a shot and you don't quite get there, but you've still got to kind of rally around your teammates who are also your competition, so to speak?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and mate, I have been there plenty of times, I can tell you. So, look, there's no doubt if it didn't sting, then I'd question whether you're in it for the right reasons or not, to be honest, because like you're in this caper, you want to be doing those games towards the back end of the year. So I'd be disappointed if you weren't. So I'm glad that that's, how it does feel. But in saying that, there's only 2 or 3 umpires that will go out and do that and represent the team. So, you are a team, you've got to get around each other. And it's always something that I did pride myself on. When I did miss out, it wasn't let my teammates know. It was like, no, well done, mate. You're too, like, obviously I wasn't good enough this year. It wasn't my year. Go for it. I hope you do really well. But rest assured, I'll be doing everything I can to come back next year and knock you off the perch. So there is that element that I hold within, but I certainly won't display that. I'll make sure I always support them. And I think if you were to ask, I'd be surprised if that wasn't sort of the feedback you'd get around how I cope in some of those scenarios. So, yeah, by all means, it's got to hurt and sting a bit, but that's the motivator to get you back next year bigger and stronger.
The beauty of the Adelaide Footy League is we have like 30 grand finals. So
winner.
Grand final appointments. Now, Andrew Crosby, I can see that you're keen to ask a question. Fire away, Cros.
I am. Jacob, thanks for joining us. I've got 2 questions. Neither of them is about judging high tackles and players ducking. I'll leave that for someone else to ask. I took up umpiring 20 years ago, and the first time I came across you was when you were the face of the Ultimate Umpire DVD. When are you going to make a sequel? And secondly, I'm always curious to know about umpires' preparation night before and day of, and any superstitions that you may have in the lead up to a game.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andrew. The Ultimate Umpire DVD, they didn't quite ask me back again. I don't know why. I thought I nailed that. So disappointing I didn't. It was, that was a long day. I had to try and actually memorize some of those lines, and it was tricky. I'll give you the tip. But that was a bit of fun. Preparation-wise, look, I'll be honest, superstitions, I probably used to have them back in the day. I'd always like to do certain things a certain way. I reckon probably COVID taught us something that, I jumped on a plane, got a phone call on a midweek, 10:30 on a Wednesday to say, you're leaving tomorrow at 8:30 to go to Gold Coast, pack your bags for we don't know how long. And, it was for 3 weeks last year. And then we had to rush back out of Brisbane to get back to Melbourne because that was going into lockdown. And anyway, it was just crazy. So I think what's probably taught me a lot over the time is you can perform well regardless of your preparation if it's not perfect. As long as there's got to be a level of preparation that you would do, whether it's food intake and that's a no-brainer for me. Make sure you got the right fluids and food that you would normally have to know that will fuel you to get you through the game. But in terms of preparation, the one thing I do is the night before is write out teams, team names, numbers is how I sort of remember them. But apart from that, it's really going in with a mindset of enjoyment, go in and give everything. I've got a fire and ice mentality. I sort of speak to myself about the fire is the energy that I bring to the game and the team, the work rate and work ethic. And then the ice part is that composure piece, is really about making sure that I'm composed. If something, does fluster you, just take a deep breath. Things don't appear as rushed on TV as they might in your head. So just take your time with it. You've got the time to process it. So I really try and avoid anything that's sort of too superstitious. I just make sure that going into the game, I'm relaxed, calm, and ready for whatever that throws at me, because I feel as though I've done that preparation over the years of experience I've had. So I shouldn't fear anything that comes up in the game. You should be ready for it.
Cool. Beautiful. We've got Barry Lewis and Ann Gore, and then we're running out of time. So now Barry Lewis has umpired 2,500 games of footy. You're talking to an absolute legend over here. So
far
Barry,
out.
Come on and ask what you like of.
Maybe I should be asking the question of Barry here, Colin.
Thank you, Jacob. One thing, your interview tonight has been absolutely fantastic, and you come across very, very professionally. The question I've got: should the bounce go? Just to add on that.
Yep.
I watched 4 games, I think, this weekend. 11 bounces recalled.
Yep. Good question, Barry. I'll be honest. If it goes, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. It wouldn't faze me either way. At the moment, I'm bouncing well, touch wood. So we'll keep going with it. But look, I personally believe, if it does, it will possibly bring a bit more people to the game as well, you know, and allow open more opportunities for people to be involved. And I think we need to look at that. Like, you know, we've got an umpiring list where we need probably to look at where's the diversity at and where we're at, where are we in umpiring compared to the rest of the world in terms of referee or umpiring ranks. But certainly bounce could be seen as something that is quite challenging. Whether we do it where we've got maybe 4 umpires, for example, that could be something we look at down the track, that we have 2 experienced or good bouncers that will take the load. That might be something we look at as well. And we've got others that are there for the decision making. So again, if we do keep it, maybe there are a couple of things we look at. But look, yeah, when it's going well, you really enjoy it, I must say. Like, I love the bounce at the moment. But as I said, if it was to go, it's not something I'm that attached to, that I'd be really disappointed. It is what it is. I mean, it's part of my role and part of what I'm paid to do, so I'll keep doing it. So, yeah, at this stage, it is what it is.
And you're good at it, mate. You're definitely good at it. Going to move on to Ian. Sorry to cut you short, Barry, but we are running out of time. So, Ian, did you want to fire away?
Just a quick one, Jacob. What's happened to our the umpire that we all love to hate or love to love, Razor Ray?
Yeah, he's battling an injury at the moment. He's had a bit of a few setbacks. He was in earlier, and then he had a bit of time off to get it right. He's got a bit of a hip issue. But yeah, he's on the road to recovery. He won't be back this year, unfortunately, but certainly I don't think we'll be able to keep him away from the game for that much longer. He'll be back next year, and we'll know he's back. He'll be yelling at us on the track and getting stuck into us once he's back out there for sure. So yeah.
Now, with rules and interpretations that you've seen plenty of changes along your journey, how do you cope with ones that you might not personally agree with or feel uncomfortable with? Is there something mentally you have to say to yourself to deal with those situations?
Yep, it goes by the way of, if you want to keep umpiring next week, do what they say. So, look, it can be challenging. There's no question, and it's about how we adapt to it. And I think some of the things I would never encourage to make rule changes or adjustments along the way, but I would say some of the ones I've done this year, like the split for me, has just been a godsend. You know, we don't have to buy into those unnecessary 50-metre penalties where there's attacking play was drawing the free kick. So I think that's fantastic. I know where they're going with the whole descent as well this year. I think it's been brilliant. Like, it's been probably one of the best years I've been associated with umpiring where I haven't come off the ground mentally exhausted because I've been barraged with questions and what have you from players. It's been honestly a blessing. So I think that's been a really good one. The high tackle, we're in only 2 weeks in. We're getting there. It's going to be challenging. It is a challenge, but I think we know where they're wanting to go with it, and I think if we can stamp that out and get just players playing the ball and not going for free kicks, it's going to be much easier in the long run. But we're getting through it at the moment, and I think we're doing a pretty good job overall to get this one up and running.
Yep, totally agree. And we love the descent rule. It's been great for us.
That's great. Yeah. And I hope that has been filtered through down to country, regional, state leagues as well, because that's where we need to be leaders in that, to showcase it's not acceptable, and hopefully that will filter down.
Yeah, awesome. Where are you umpiring this week? Do you know?
Yeah, Western Bulldogs and Fremantle. So looking forward to it. It should be a good game. Awesome.
And last one for you. I'm really excited for in a fortnight's time. We've got Matt Stevick agreeing to come on and have a chat. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with Matt.
I'm literally, if you thought I was okay tonight, hopefully I've done it justice, but I'm just the entree to the main course here, team. So, look, Matt's one of the all-time great umpires, one of the greatest guys you'll meet. As I said, he's someone that I'll talk to on a regular basis, draw guidance from. He's seen it all and done 8 in a row grand finals, nine overall. Look, he's a phenomenal athlete too. Like, he was just incredible watching him run around and nearly lap you on time trials. He's a freak. But look, he puts in the work. He's very passionate about it. You'll get to see that firsthand, how passionate he is about umpiring as well. But he's an absolute gem. No,
we're really excited about that. I've got to say thank you so much. It's about to cut out because I've got a time limit for 40 minutes. Jake, you've been awesome. Really appreciate your time. I know I speak for all the group. Thank you so much for sharing your time tonight.
Anytime, guys. Take care and all the best this weekend. and the rest of the year. Thanks, Colin. Thanks,
Good on you
Tony.
guys. We'll see you all
Thanks,
at training
Jacob.
on Wednesday night.